How's it going, everybody? My name is Lucky Buns, and in today's video we're going to be taking a look at gold bottle caps, which are officially coming to Pokemon GO. So this item is going to allow you to hyper train the IVs of your Pokemon, or in other words, you're going to be able to create hundos and shundos. The first gold bottle cap is going to be available through the Go Pass Deluxe, available from June 23rd to June 29th, and it's going to cost $20. Now, similar to the Lucky Trinkets, these are also going to have an expiration date, and we don't really know how frequently these are going to be available in the game, so this might be the only one you're going to be able to purchase for a very long time. Therefore, you're definitely going to want to make sure that you pick the right Pokemon to invest into, and there's quite a few worthy options. So, let's talk about them. I think one of the best options you guys can go with is going to be a shiny with a background. Now, keep in mind, I understand not everybody really cares about the background Pokemon, and that's perfectly valid, but getting a shiny with a background is incredibly rare in game. You could also take this to the next level with a Pokemon that actually has a combination background, something like Necrozma, or even Kurem. You also have the location backgrounds in Pokemon GO at the in-person events. Those are also really cool to have. So I think when it comes down to it, a shiny with the background is going to be a solid choice if you guys are actually into that. If you don't care that much about the backgrounds, that's perfectly fine. We're going to go over meta-relevant options later on in the video, but in terms of rarity, I think that does make a lot of sense. Now, when it comes down to Cubfu, I know I'm going to get asked this question, is it actually worth, using your bottle cap on a Cubfu to get perfect IVs? And while Urshifu is actually pretty good in the Open Master League right now, I can't say it's going to be a good choice just because it's going to have a Gmax form, and we really don't know how that's going to be implemented into Pokemon GO. Is it going to be through Max Soup, or are we going to get it in Gmax raids? Until we actually know how that's going to play out, I would not recommend using a bottle cap on your Cubfu. Next up, I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier, but we're going to have the shiny fusion Pokemon, Necrozma or Kurem. Now, respectfully, fusing together Necrozma with Solgaleo is going to get you Duskmane, and then fusing it together with Lunala is going to get you Dawnwings. These Pokemon are really good to have. Duskmane did recently get overshadowed by Zacian and Zamazenta in the Steel-type category when it comes down to raid battle, so maybe not as good as it once was, but it's still a great Pokemon to use for the Open Master League. And then Dawnwings is still one of the best Ghost-type attackers in the game, if not the best Ghost-type attacker in the game. And then we also have Kurem as well, which is going to be another great option you guys can go with. I think these two are going to be the top two picks for sure. Black Kurem is better ranked in the Open Master League, but White Kurem is a really good Ice-type attacker. I'm pretty sure it's the best Ice-type attacker in game right now. Now for the next two Pokemon, I think these are also going to be amazing picks, and I personally have them both maxed out to level 50 because I got lucky with the IV spreads during the Sinnoh Tour last year. And that's going to be Shiny Origin Palkia with Spatial Rend and Shiny Origin Dialga with Roar of Time. It is extremely important that you have the shiny form with their special moveset. This cannot be Elite TM'd, so either you have it on it or you don't. But just know if you actually happen to have it with these movesets, both of these Pokemon are extremely meta relevant in the entire game. We're talking raid battles, Master League, Rocket battles, they're both phenomenal. And not to mention, their adventure effects are extremely relevant as well. Now for the next Pokemon, we're going to have Shiny Groudon, which is going to be great to use in its primal form, but also just its regular form as well. It does require a double legacy moveset in order to be relevant, but I have to say, I have used Groudon so much in this game, so if you want to make a Shundo out of this would be a fantastic pick, right? Because you have the Primal, which is going to be the top ground type attacker in the game, and then you have the regular variant, right, which you can use in the Open Master League as well as Rocket battles. Now, Kyogre is also going to be a great pick as well. I don't want to say as good as Groudon, to be honest. I think Groudon has a lot more playability, but Kyogre is also going to be solid, right? Because as a Primal, it's the #1 water type attacker in the game, and Kyogre is going to be great to have against Rocket battles as well, but it's not as good as it once was in the Open Master League, so at the current time of making this video, it might not be great in that meta, but that can always change in the future, so I would not take that part of this very seriously, but then again, it is definitely a downside compared to something else like Shiny Groudon. Now we also have Shiny Rayquaza to kind of complete the trio here, which is of course going to be the #1 flying type attacker in the game with Dragon Ascent. This does require a Meteorite, which is only available during certain events in Pokemon GO, so if you don't actually have a Meteorite for your Shiny Rayquaza, I probably wouldn't go with this option. I mean, yes, having a Shundo Rayquaza is going to be super cool, but at the same time, you really need to have Dragon Ascent in order for this Pokemon to be relevant and also to use the Mega Form. Moving on though, the next Pokemon we're going to talk about is going to be Shiny Mewtwo, which does not actually have access to a Mega Evolution right now, but it will definitely be getting one in the future. So for that reason alone, I probably wouldn't recommend Mewtwo as a top priority right now, but if you wanted to go for it, I don't think it would be a bad option. The next two Pokemon we're going to talk about are going to be Shiny Zacian and Shiny Zamazenta, both extremely extremely meta relevant for both the raid/gym meta as well as for the Open Master League. So basically the only prerequisite is going to be to get at least one of these in their shiny forms during the upcoming Go Fest event. If you went to the in-person events, you might have already gotten one of these in their shiny forms, and therefore you're pretty much good to go. You know, if I were to get a gold bottle cap, it might end up going towards a shiny Zacian. Not gonna lie, that Pokemon is super sick. The next Pokemon is going to be shiny Landorus, which actually is a great ground type attacker to use in the raid/gym meta, and it's also one of the best options to use in the Open Master League. The next two legendary Pokemon, and I think these are going to be the last two of this video, are going to be shiny Xerneas and shiny Yveltal. Both of these Pokemon are speculated to get future Mega Evolutions in the new Legends EA game, which is going to be coming out in October. We don't know when these Pokemon are going to be making their way, or sorry, I should say their Mega Forms are going to be making their way into Pokemon GO, but speculation is that at some point in the future, they're going to be extremely meta relevant. So getting Shundos of these right now, maybe not the best option, but something you do want to keep on your radar. Next up, I'd like to go over a few non-legendary options that I think are going to be good to go with. These all have Mega Evolutions or potential future Mega Evolutions. So the first Pokemon is going to be shiny Ralts, my personal fan favorite shiny. I love getting this Pokemon in like all the main series games, and I of course have close to a Shundo in Pokemon Go. I actually have a lucky shiny 98, 14, 15, 15. The next Pokemon is going to be a fan favorite that's going to be shiny Charmander evolving all the way up into shiny Charizard. I do think that the best version of this is going to be shiny G-Max Charizard because you can essentially get all the functionality out of this Pokemon. The next Pokemon is going to be shiny Lucario, which has access to a Mega Evolution, making it the best fighting type attacker in the game. This is by far, I think, one of the better options to go with as well. Speaking of really cool shiny Pokemon, the next one is going to be shiny Beldum evolving all the way up into shiny Metagross. This doesn't have access to its Mega Evolution just yet, but I gotta imagine it's going to be coming soon. Now, Metagross doesn't have access to a shiny G-Max form, but it does have a Dynamax variant, which you can get shiny. If you happen to get a shiny Dynamax Metagross, this would be a worthy contender as well, because again, you can use it in every other aspect of the game, including the future Mega Evolution. The next Pokemon is going to be shiny Larvitar, which evolves all the way up into Tyranitar. This Pokemon is one of the best Dark type attackers in the game, and one of the best Rock type attackers in the game in its Mega form. So I think if you guys have the opportunity, this will be a solid pick to go with as well. Now we do actually have one more option I want to go over, but this isn't exactly a great pick, it might just be more of a fan favorite. That's going to be shiny Gible evolving all the way up into shiny Garchomp. Garchomp actually has a pretty weak looking shiny, it's almost like non-noticeable compared to the regular variant, but its Mega form is much better. Now in terms of meta relevance, this is going to be a good ground type attacker to use as well as a good dragon type attacker to use. It's also relevant in the Open Master League, but unfortunately in the raid/gym meta, it's not exactly going to be the best of the best. Therefore, it might not make sense to invest a bottle cap into this Pokemon. It's only if you really like the shiny, and I'm specifically talking about that Mega. Now for the remainder of the video, I want to go over some mythical options, which I think are going to be some of the best picks you guys can go with, just because mythical Pokemon, typically you only get like one, maybe two of them in Pokemon Go, and therefore the IV spreads are almost always going to be bad. You just don't really have enough chances to get a good one, and therefore because you can't get more of them in the future, making one of these into a Hundo or potentially even a Shundo is going to be a great pick. But keep in mind that if you actually want to max one of these to level 50, you're going to have to build up a lot of extra large candy, and that's going to be mainly from the rare extra large candy system, which takes forever to accumulate. So just know, if you happen to go with one of these Pokemon, it's going to be more of a project Pokemon if you're not a big raider. Anyways though, taking a look at the first option, we're going to have shiny Meloetta, which was recently released into Pokemon Go, I believe last year. This Pokemon is relevant in the Open Master League, so if you make this one into a Shundo, you'll definitely get quite a bit of play out there. I have to say, this Pokemon has maintained its meta relevance for quite some time in that meta, so I don't think it's going to be going anywhere anytime soon. The next Pokemon is going to be shiny Shaman, which isn't relevant in PvP, but it's actually pretty good to use as a grass type attacker in the raid/gym meta. Now we do actually have shiny Mew, which I think is going to be a cool pick to go with. I mean, it's not going to be useful for anything, it's going to be more of a fun option to run. And then finally, we actually have a Pokemon that is featured in raid battles, but it's also a mythical Pokemon, which means it can't be traded. That's going to be shiny Darkrai. Now as of right now, shiny Darkrai, or just Darkrai in general I should say, isn't the best dark type attacker in the game, but we have been waiting years for it to eventually get its signature moveset to Dark Void. When it gets access to that moveset, this could change the game for Darkrai. in which case having the Shundo Darkrai could end up becoming one of the best Dark-type attackers in the game, but as of right now, maybe not use the bottle cap on it just because that's a lot of speculation right there. So with that being said, that pretty much covers the best shiny mythical Pokemon I think that are worth investing into. We do have a few others out there like Celebi and Jirachi, but those don't really make that much sense. I guess they're kind of as practical as Mew, but even then not so much, right? Because Mew has access to such a wide move pool, and therefore you can use it as more of a fun Pokemon in rocket battles, whereas Jirachi and Celebi, not so much. Now for the next Pokemon I want to talk about, this is arguably the best pick, like the #1 pick in this video, and that's going to be Zygarde. Now, Zygarde is going to be one of the best Master League options in the game, and because you can only get access to one of these as of right now, I mean, most people probably didn't get a good IV spread, and therefore using a bottle cap on something like this to have actual good Master League relevance, I think it could be worth it. It's just the opportunity cost when it comes down to it, getting a Shundo or a really practical Hundo. Then again, you know, a lot of the Pokemon that I mentioned earlier could be very practical Shundos as well. So while Zygarde is arguably one of the best options you guys can go with, really think this through, really go over your options when it comes down to the other Pokemon, because again, having a Shundo that's, you know, practical, just as practical I should say, as Zygarde is going to be, you know, even better. But with that being said, kind of going over that point, I want to quickly run through some of the other options you guys can go with as well that you might be considering as mythicals and why you might or might not want to go with these. So the next pick is going to be Diancie, right? Mega Diancie. This is going to be the best DPS rock-type attacker in the game as its Mega form. It's basically tied together with Mega Tyranitar when you factor in both DPS as well as TDO, so I think this Pokemon can definitely be skipped because you could also just build a Mega Tyranitar, and then that might actually be a little bit easier to get the candy on compared to a mythical Pokemon, which again, it's pretty much going to be from Rare Candy XL. And then finally we have Cosmog / Solgaleo and Lunala. Now we also have the special backgrounds that we got during Go Fest for Solgaleo and Lunala, so those could be really cool to actually turn into a Hundo. These don't have their shiny forms in Pokemon Go. I don't know if we're ever going to get them. I do have to imagine it's going to happen at some point just because. But as of right now, you know, both of these Pokemon, Solgaleo and Lunala, without their fusion forms, right, like fusing it together with Necrozma, they're both really good to use in the Open Master League. Lunala just recently got a move pool update, I believe, which made it much better in the Open Master League, and then Solgaleo was already really good. So if you wanted to use it on these two Pokemon, I could totally understand that. But at the same time, if you also just wanted to keep these Pokemon to then fuse together with your Shundo Necrozma that you happen to use a bottle cap on, that could be even better. Otherwise, that pretty much covers all the best options you guys can go with. Of course, if you do feel like I missed anything, let me know in the comments section down below. And for those of you out there who already know what you're going to be using your gold bottle cap on, let us know in the comment section as well. I think it'll definitely help out a lot of players who are still indecisive after watching this video. Otherwise, if you're still looking for more content, I'm going to recommend these two videos right here. But before you go, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and I'll see you all real soon in the next one.